the Driven Career Podcast. This is a space where we talk about professional life and personal development to inspire you to overcome the challenges and grow in your career. And today, our guest is Yetunde Adeniyi. Yetunde is an HR professional. She is a people analytics and she's been building her international career here in Canada. In this episode, she's going to share what were the challenges, the habits, the mindset that has been helping her to grow her career here. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Let's go. Hi, Yetunde. How are you?
Hi, Rachel. I'm good. How about you?
I'm very good. Thank you so much for joining our podcast today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a big pleasure. Yeah.
Well, it's been a while. We were catching up before starting this recording. We worked in the HR of Amazon 7-8 years ago. And today I have Yet here just to share how is it going? How is this journey? Live in Canada, keep building your international career. So there's a lot to cover, lots to talk about. But let's start from your introduction. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Right. So my name is Yetunde Adeniyi. I'm originally from Nigeria, so I'm Nigerian. Moved to Canada about 9 years ago. I've always been in HR. Started my career in Nigeria in HR and then moved to Canada with my family in 2016. Took a while trying to get my feet into the career work space within in Canada, but yeah, it's been good trying to learn the work culture here. So yeah, basically I've kind of transitioned from core HR to the data side of HR. So right now, I work with Bank of Montreal as a people analytics specialist on the team there, supporting HR BPs within the bank. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yes, I have been following you. I see all your updates on LinkedIn. And by the way, your profile is going to be here on the description so people can, if they have any questions or if they want to connect, they can just talk to you directly. So yeah, let's go back to this a little bit about your career and how you've been building. So when we look back to all the things that you have been going through building up your career in HR or career in general, what were the key decisions, Yetunde, or habits that has been helping you along the way to stand out in this competitive market?
So one habit or one thing I can truly talk about that's really shaped my journey is basically staying curious and being very adaptable. I've worked in different industries and then moved to a new country and starting all over again. So, just leaning into learning more. I always describe myself as wherever I find myself, I want to learn. I want to grab as much as I can. And that has really helped me right from even moving from core HR into the data space. That was you move to a different country, you learn about the work culture, how the tools, and then you're moving from core HR into the data space, learning about the different tools, learning about programming languages, data visualization and all. So, but it's just that being curious and being adaptable that has really helped me taking on projects, pushing myself out there. And yeah, that has really helped me over the years, basically.
That's beautiful. I love that. Yeah, staying curious and learning. I think that's helpful anywhere where you go, right, Yetunde?
Right. That's very true. Staying curious and being very adaptable. Yeah.
And especially what you're doing today, because you are working pretty much with AI, directly with AI. I mean, we know that's not quite new, but it's been a journey until you actually update yourself and learn. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like what exactly you are doing with the data and how you support your day-to-day work, learning about these new tools?
So when we talk about AI, so within my core role, what I focus basically on is data analytics on so on. There's a bit of machine learning, which you can also link to AI. But when we look at the different aspects of things I've done with AI, it's really just around the creativity side of things. I've kind of picked interest in AI and started learning about it. I learn a lot by doing things. So, and that's one of the things I also picked from Amazon. Amazon always take you through trainings by learning by doing. So I picked interest in AI. I started learning about it. I know that one way I would really get a grasp of things is learning through the creative side of that. And yeah, in about a year now, I can see like the different things I've tried, like building chatbots, building talking avatars, and like other things that I've used it for. So, and then there's also like the professional side of it, like you building models, basically try to like learn about it. One way you learn about things is just trying it out, taking on courses. I do a lot of courses, like from the professional side of things to like the creative side of things. I'm that girl that, if there's a course for it, rather than me trying to figure it out, I'll learn from someone that's done it. So, and that has really helped. Yeah.
Yeah. And what would you say, like, since you're so much into the AI world, I see much of your postings. I'm always following you and everything you're sharing on LinkedIn. What would you say in terms of how the driven professionals can leverage their knowledge when using AI? Like, is there anything specific you would be able to recommend?
So one thing I would advise is, there is one way to look at AI is how can I use it to like look at my process, look at what I do? How can I use it to make things better for me?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think that's like key for every professional.
Yeah.
You look at what you do at work, look at what you do at home, look at your personal life. Like there are times like, so recently I'm trying to learn Python programming language. I picked it up a
Wow.
while ago during COVID. Like I paid for a course, I got someone teaching me, but like over after COVID, like I just lost interest in it. But I recently picked it up again and I basically went on ChatGPT and I'm like, build like a course roadmap for me, a course journey in terms of like what I need to do. And
Oh,
more
wow.
like, I don't just want to learn it, I want to have for each module, give me like practical, you know, projects I can try my hands on to basically cement the fact that I've learned this part of the module. So when you think about AI, think about how can you use it to automate some of the things you do? How can you use it to like ease some of the stress? Someone described it as look at it as like your intern. Like if you have an intern, is it like typing things or reading things or, just and it's the same way even in the professional world. Like you want to think about some projects you do. How can I use this to my advantage from a place of like, and I'm not saying you stop using your brain or in yourself, but it's more of like, it's like you're working with someone basically and you're
Yeah.
bouncing off ideas at the end of the day. So yeah, that's one advice I would give as it relates to AI. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
it's the future. It's the future. Like it's going nowhere. Yeah, it has its downsides and all, but it's the future. So I think the fact that I have that experience in the data world and I see how that has evolved also helped me to like latch on very fast to this AI world. But it's the future.
It is.
The future is here. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, the future is
Yeah.
here. We are. You gotta learn that. That
Yeah.
surprised me when you talk about that, and I still know some people that don't know what that is. But anyway, it's hard to believe, but that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like about that, like really improving things and using the tool as an assistant. A lot of times, I really use the artificial intelligence to really help to speed up things and create work frames and just organize your thoughts. But definitely to not ignore your own thinking because our own brain, we have so many ideas. I think it's helpful to help us to organize our ideas. So I just hope that we all keep the habit of thinking first and then using
Yeah.
AI to just leverage whatever we are thinking. Although the tool is so
Yes. Yeah.
powerful, we
Yes,
might
it
tend to
is.
ask things right away. Okay. And yeah, so just going a little bit back to whenever you started your career here, I think would be nice and interesting to learn and hear more from you. Yeah. What were the biggest challenges that you faced as you were going through the journey? What can you share with us today about the challenges so our audience may relate and feel inspired of your own journey?
For me, when I moved here, it took me a while to get a job. When I saw wow, it was about a year. trying to find a job. And that was me coming from a country where I'd built my career over the years, I'd built that credibility over the years, and then coming to a new country, trying to get a job, getting the no's. So I think one of the biggest challenges for me was rebuilding my credibility here. It's like starting from the bottom. That was my experience. That's not everybody's experience, but that was my own experience. Was basically starting from the bottom. I'm so grateful to Emma. I think it was Emma then at Amazon that interviewed me and gave me that role. I'm always so, when I think about my career journey and all the no's that I got because I didn't have Canadian experience, it was just someone betting on me at that point in time. So, and then when you get that opportunity with someone betting on you, you typically want to show up and not, disappoint. So it was basically, one of the biggest challenge was rebuilding my credibility and also new network, building up new networking in like a new corporate system. I think
Yeah.
another thing for me was understanding the work culture. Like it's entirely different from what I've been used to. There are ways things were done in terms of like work culture where I came from, and then I had to relearn and learn how things are done within this particular work structure in a new country. So I had to rebuild my credibility over the years, get to that point that, this is who I am, this is the experience I've had. And it's still a process, right? You're still even within over the years I've been able to like show, even with like everywhere I've worked, like build that credibility over the years, but it's still like a journey, still doing that. I leaned a lot into like data analytics and strategy to differentiate myself,
Hmm.
which was like an experience from back home in Nigeria. So that was one of the things I know really helped me to like, grow fast within the corporate structure here, just leaning into that data analytics experience and building partnerships within the different organizations I've worked. Yeah.
Yeah, you basically answered my next question. I was going to ask you, how did you build up your credibility along the way? Like, what was exactly your strategy? You mentioned that you rely a lot on the data. Is there anything else, like in terms of maybe behavior or how you communicate, or how was that for you in the workplace that you have noticed that has been helping you, these habits or anything that has been helping you to build your credibility?
So one is my skills, like when basically being able to show up with that, I have the skills based and I would prove it that I can do it, having that growth mindset, I think for me, it's the mindset. You starting with the mindset, building the skills, taking on challenges and opportunities. I think most importantly is showing up. Like if I say I'm going to do this, then I have to do it. Whatever it takes, if it takes me after work taking some courses, taking some classes to learn that skill, reaching out to people to learn from them. Yes, I'll do that. But, it was for me, it was very important that, I show up and in a very good way at the end of the day. So, yeah, that's one thing that's helped me. Yeah.
Amazing. I love that. Yeah, show up and really, and I love what you mentioned about the growth of your mindset, really, because I think that is a north for you, right? So you're just growing because you believe where you can, what you can achieve. And that is the base point for you. And speaking about that, so along the years, what has been like a new belief or behavior or even like the habits besides the growth mindset that has been helpful to you to keep this journey of growing?
So of recent, and when I say of recent, I would say maybe like the past 3, 4 years, I've decided to like focus more on myself outside of work.
Okay.
And that's where I built that. I've been giving myself, permission to explore the creative side of things, my writing, my storytelling, the other like other things that done over the years. And that has actually helped me to balance things even and also inspired me professionally. So it's really focusing on myself, exploring other areas of me, especially the creative side. Like I'm doing a lot of things. At some point in time, I started learning how to draw, and like I even use that with like the creative side of things I do with AI. So I've learned that when I thrive personally, it also helps me at work as well. I can like take some of those skills, take some of those learnings to work. I'll give a good example because I love the creative side of things. I love to draw. I love all that. When I build dashboards, at work,
Mm,
I want to build my dashboard to make it look like you're reading a news article. Like it's not
yeah.
like it's beautiful to the eyes. It's not like you're seeing your insights very clear. And that came from like, the creative side of things outside of like, my professional side of things. So I'm able to like also add that to, bring the things I'm learning outside of work back into work. Yeah.
Yeah, it is just part of who you are, and you're just transferring the skills here and there.
Yes.
And I bet they're
Yes.
beautiful because you
Yes.
like the beauty, you like the art. So that's
Yes.
probably
Yes.
what you're bringing, right, to your day to day.
Yes. Yes, yes, that is it. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I actually meant to mention about what you were talking about, the growth, the mindset growth, and being ahead of things, really planning things ahead and rely on your commitment and show up. I was actually reading a book. It's called Thinking Ahead from Craig Rochelle. And I love the part where it's saying, when I commit, I don't quit.
Right.
And that's
That
you,
that is
Yetunde.
that's so yes, yes, that is so true. That is so true. Because at the end of the day, your word should be your bond. That's one thing that has helped me. If you say you can do this, then you should do it. So whatever it takes to do it, yeah, get it done. And like that's also part of like the work culture from where I'm coming from Nigeria. You have to show up and show up good, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, because that is also one of the challenges, right? You need to basically prove yourself anyways. You're just in a different place. So tell us
Yeah.
a little bit more about that. What else do you transfer from your own culture that has been helpful in your journey here in Canada?
One of the key things, and I learned a lot of that from like my very first career back home. I worked in the bank then as well. There's no passing blames or pushing blames when things have to be done. So I'll give an example. You work in HR, you work within, let's say, learning and development within HR. Maybe somebody needs something from recruitment. You don't say it's none of my business because it's recruitment. At the end of the
Mm,
day, it's still HR. It's still HR. Then you guys can go resolve your issues internally, but like with the customers, you have to help the customers solve the problem. And that's one learning as well that I've taken over the years, even like within other places I've worked in Nigeria, making sure that you're solving that problem. That's one. Another is that innovative way of thinking. I love to look at processes and see how I can make things better, and I did a lot of that even while I was working at Amazon then. They're like forms, or rather than filling forms, can we put this in like a digital platform, creating even like spreadsheets or Google spreadsheets to like automate some things that are manual. So it's that innovative mindset, looking at things and asking yourself, how can this be better? You know, how can I take this complex idea and make it very simplified and not so complex for? And it's the same way, even within my data analytics experience, working with HRBPs, it's like, it's beyond just building dashboards for you. It's also automating your processes. If this thing is taking you this number of hours or days to do, and you have to do it every month or every quarter, can we find a better
mm-hmm.
way to do it in a more efficient way? So it's that innovative and growth mindset as well. Yeah.
Amazing. I'm really
Yeah.
holding myself here because there's so many other questions I want to ask because we're both from the HR background.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to stick with the plan here in terms of how you've been growing your career. But then it's an amazing topic. I'm really passionate about that as well. And I like the example you provide, like the ownership. I believe that that's definitely something that is helpful to all the professionals in any area. Like you said, if you are from HR and you get an inquiry that comes from recruitment or that can be from payroll or so on, it's just having that ownership to focus on what is the need from the client, and it's not just
Yeah.
dropping, right? Because I think
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard to predict when you are in the hiring process, for example, to predict from a candidate if they are going to have that ownership, which is something that everyone should have. Everyone should display that to
Yes.
succeed in your career.
Totally. Yes.
Yetunde, so when you think about the international career and thinking back to all the challenges you had, it's been quite some years since you've been building. You moved from one company to others, and you're keep growing and learning. And it's amazing to know that you were also really applying, discovering yourself and dedicating to yourself in a personal life, because we know that that is definitely transferable to our day to day in our workplace. So when you think about the other people that are might be listening to us today from other countries, and if they're thinking to move or go, really get into this new venture of starting an international career, what would be the things you would highlight for them to start off? And what would you say that would be 100% helpful for them to succeed as they go through this journey of starting in a new country?
That's a very good question. I always advise new immigrants within my community when they come in. There's no job that isn't worth giving your best, you know. And then when you get on the roll, always look at it as look for opportunities within that role to grow yourself and make it like a step board the next place you're going, because like at the end of the day no experience is worthless, right? When you go for interviews, for example, it's more of like what have you done, where you're coming from. Most times they'll tell you to answer your interviews using the start format, where you're looking like, oh, this is how I experienced or gone through this in my past professional experience. I would always advise people to, whatever you're doing, start somewhere, and wherever you are, always give your best. Looking at it from a place of whatever I do here right now is going to be the board I'm going to use to step to the next. So you want to give your best wherever you are in. Take on projects. Like I'm that person. There's a committee that is trying to like we're working on something. Would you want to join? Yes, please. Yes. I'll learn something. It doesn't mean like I'll be on everything. If I have that time, yes, sure. Because I'll meet people. I would also learn from them as well, build my network. Give yourself to opportunities, take on projects at work. That for me, if I'm going to talk about my journey from moving from core HR to like the data side, it was basically while I was working at Amazon, which was like basically core HR, employee issues, day to day things. But at the same time, I was taking on, do you want to I remember I took on like a project that had to do with attrition analysis, which nobody asked me to, but I was just very interested in like data side of things. So I did that project and I took it to my manager then to say, here is the insight I got from that. And then I was more of like that go-to person when it comes to like data and insights within the team. So look at where you're going and look at how where you are right now can aid you to where you're going, basically. Yeah.
Amazing. I will just rephrase what you mentioned. I think that's key. So you basically you had the clarity. You said, I knew what I wanted. So then because you knew what you wanted, you were studying things related to your interest, then basically created an opportunity. So whenever the opportunity was around, you were prepared. You already taken courses and applying that.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And on top
That's
of
it. Yeah.
that, it sounds like you had good leaders, because you just mentioned I shared my interests and they kept that in mind. Oh, Yetunde, she is good at this. We have an opportunity here. I want to highlight what you also said about volunteering, being ready for. Again, we are so busy. Everyone is busy. We have priorities, but it is important to make time for this. to maybe volunteering for projects that also helps you to get visibility.
And outside of work as well, I'll give an example. Um, at some point in time, my kids were in a school, and they basically had their own experiences in school with being called names and all that. And I decided to join the pack, which is like the parents team, like a team within the school. Then I decided to take on a role there. I became the I wanted to make an impact based on my kids' experience. And then within that school district at that point in time, I championed Black Excellence Day, then wherein invited the Black community from our CMP to come speak to students, gave some talks about Black people within the Canadian history that commit done a lot to improve things within Canada. So just bring that enlightenment to kids in terms of be open to other people. So that was also me volunteering outside of work, but seeing like a, a need for a change and not just talking about it, but doing something. I try to find time to do some of those things, take on some of those volunteering opportunities. Even within my team, I read a lot of things, articles online as relates to people analytics and HR. So I take it to my manager to say, "Oh, I read about this. I feel this could be beneficial to us within the organization." If you have a manager that supports, they're like, okay, let's see it. Let's come up with a plan. Let's see how it goes. And I think that also adds that flavor to what you're doing. You're just one thing. There are other things as well that get you engaged and happy at work. Yeah.
I love that. That's inspiring. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, it's volunteering not only in the workplace, but there's so many other things out there. If there's anything that makes you cry about or bothers you, why not being proactive to help out and do something about it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Oh,
Yes, true.
that's beautiful.
That's
And yeah, really being proactive. I love that. I can see that a lot in you. And I remember from the time we worked together as well. Like you were always like super helpful and super kind. Thanks for being so amazing always. Well, Yetunde, our time is coming to the end here, and thanks for sharing your thoughts. Is there anything else you would like to highlight for our audience today?
I would say visibility is very key. You'll see me, I do a lot of postings on LinkedIn, and with that, I've gotten like speaking engagements, visibility to basically show your thought leadership in that area. I think that's very, very key. That would be one thing I would advise. Build your network and build your visibility. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. So, listeners, take note visibility and being proactive. Make sure you volunteer, you put yourself out there, show up every day. Did I cover everything? Is there anything else missing?
I think you covered everything.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Yetunde, thank you so much for your time, for joining the Driven Career podcast. I really appreciate your stories, examples you shared today. It inspired us. So thanks. And I wish you much more success. I want to see you growing and really sharing much more on LinkedIn.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, and for our listeners, thanks for sticking around. Thank you for listening to our podcast today. I hope you felt inspired, that you got notes from Yetunde's story and her journey building her international career and all the aspects that have been helping her to grow all the way to where she's nowadays here in Canada. And if you do like this type of conversation, make sure to like and subscribe in our channel so YouTube will know that you like this content and it will help our channel to grow. So we will come back next week with another amazing episode. And until then, stay driven.
Stay driven.